Yeah, this is going to be a quick play video because, oh my goodness, this weekend was pretty rough for me. That being said, as we get into a Zol Knight Errant character exclusive Ayaka, that doesn't mean that I was unproductive, it just means that I had to swerve a little bit on the channel side of things, but whether or not I'm going to be able to stream this week, we'll see on Wednesday. Wednesday will be the soonest one. I should be announcing things though, but we'll see. Streams. Anyway, Knowledge, Takshisan, Second Encounter, Light, Charisma, and maybe Dexterity check? I'm thinking of whether or not I can avoid this 6 stamina damage. Probably not. And then 5 Reason if we don't do Charisma, which, whereas unless you get Eldritch Possession. I mean, sometimes you don't get it, but most times you should get that or Blood Mania. And that's why we're gonna just move forward. So, we're gonna fill this empty bottle, do some stuff, and hope for the best. It's not always gonna happen, granted, but usually it should. If it doesn't, just cry for the run and hope for the best. Akamanto, Metamorphosis, Painting, Bulletin, and Scissors. So, as much as I want to take Bulletin first, I probably should. We have Metamorphosis, Akamanto, and Scissors. Although if you get Blood Mania, it doesn't matter, so I guess I will take the thing first. Bulletin. I got flabbergasted because I immediately saw flashbacks here. We can toss it away, but I'd rather just use the freebie here. And we're going to check in here for about a few times. Oh, that's actually nice, but if I get the thingamajiggy, it won't matter. So we're just going to keep rerolling. Again, this is all because we're on a character-specific perk run. We're on a character-specific perk run. If we were on an all-perk run, I would not do this at all. Otherwise, I mean, I can take one of Ayaka's perks to lower the RNG during level up, but we'll spend about a few more Doom. Usually something good happens, otherwise I'm just going to take Doom Effigy. And I guess we will take Curses immediately, because then now we need funds for stuff. But gotta keep watch out for anything that will lower my stats, Fungal Growth notwithstanding. We can get rid of that. But, yeah, I just want to get rid of that quickly, so I have a bit more max stamina, max reason. Normally you wouldn't, but in my case, I just want to be safe, so... because you never know. Otherwise, Yuichi would be a nice pick-me-up. Now, my Doom is increasing by quite a lot, but we can kind of afford to do so. I really would have liked a thingamajiggy, but I guess we'll just take cigarettes for the moment. And then away we go. We're probably just going to run from everything. I should probably actually just pop the Inspiring Novel now, in case bad things happen. That way we can at least get potentially 12 damage per turn, with 3 kicks doing 4 damage. And I can finally get, as I roll an 11 plus 1 on Dexterity, what just the kind of the chill part of the video. Which is to say, boy, I've been seeing some translation stuff from Japanese to English, and boy, oh boy, because, when I watch things on YouTube, the platform that you're likely watching this video on, you get advertisements, and some advertisements are for, sometimes it's anime, sometimes it's manga, sometimes it's light novel stuff, or light novel adaptations into manga or anime, or a movie. And yeah, then I see, some people might know what I'm talking, which IP I'm talking about. Not that it's a huge IP, but it was it's something that I saw that came on my advertisements, and I looked at the title of this specific. I guess now it's turning into an anime. Yeah, it is, I believe. My eyes rolled to the top of my head as if I was like thinking in real life. But I saw the title of this and I was like, that looks a little. I went to go look up what the actual name was in Japanese, and I was like, ooh, this is completely different. And apparently from what I've, just a quick little engine search research, the creator of said thing, I need to actually visit the forest twice, so I guess police station we go. The creator of said IP, or this now turning into an anime, I'm not gonna say they didn't like it, but apparently they, it was pretty funny in the negative way, in terms of how the title of this now turning anime is what it was. And yeah, I could just say it outright, but I shouldn't be afraid of the robots. But let me just say, I'll draw a parallel for those who live in the Americas. It would be like, nice 11 roll by the way. It would be like if an English United States of America show called The Red, White, and Blue were translated over to, any country really, but instead now its title was the national flag. That's kind of my parallel or my example of how this translates. And I would assume that if something like that were to actually happen, the creators of such a show would probably not like that, or probably have some problem with it. The problem is, as someone who has some exposure to Japanese culture in the past, at least. That's right, we have Azal, by the way. That's more of an issue. It's not something to, human beings are human beings, but at the same time, it's not a good look. I kind of cringed to myself when I actually looked again. I actually looked up the Japanese name of this manga turning into an anime, I think, and I was like, oof. But anywho, pat yourself on the back if you know which manga / anime anime adaptation I'm talking about. But hey, also I would like to level up soon. Hallucinations and Traumatized. If we get Eldritch Possession, we're good. But it would be best to get Blood Mania. Although Eldritch Possession would get rid of the RNG. But yeah. Again, for those who don't know as much as my Doom shoots up through the roof, I have some experience. I'm not going to say I have more than an actual person who's translating things right now, or even has like a few months of translation, like real translation work, either by pay or intensive work. Nice Blood Mania, by the way. But enough, I know enough to be aware of the, I don't want to say sensitivities, because that sounds too much like a buzzword, but there are some nuances in translation that you need to be aware of, whether from Japanese to English or English to Japanese. I think I remember talking about this before, and if I haven't, I'm talking about it now, where there's a very specific line in a Western movie. Basically, I'm looking at you, kid, and there are ways to. I think it's not the most common example, but it is one I've seen among several sources and from my own personal experience, so take this as you may. But you can take, they're usually, for me, things devolve into two separate areas. Either you translate something literally, or you try to translate, I don't know how the best way to say it. Also, do I die here for this? The school, as long as the school is not high threat level, I shouldn't die. Well, that's unfortunate. I wasn't paying attention. Although I healed some stamina, although I should have taken painkillers. I thought this wasn't a high threat level school. I'll do a salty run back run. But we'll do the same run, actually. So we'll do Azal Ayaka. Hey, as it turns out, even though I don't have any Japanese ethnicity in my blood, biologically, I can still at least feel empathy for when, things like this happen. What am I doing here? What was it? I did actually forget. Let's see here. What was it? I don't actually remember. Well, I'm just gonna say it was World of Horror. We'll set random item stats on, and then character exclusive. But then we are on Azal, so let's see if I can autopilot through this as well as I talk about other stuff. But yeah, you can translate things literally, which, it's there. I think, in my opinion, there are pros and cons. I'll try to explain them as I see second encounter, dexterity, charisma, knowledge, light, no strength, and second mystery, maybe. No Takushi-san either, definitely. But when you translate things literally, in my opinion, you're relying on the non-native viewer's ability or desire to understand the language. For example, when you literally translate. And even then, there's some things that can be lost in translation, because in the case of the I'm looking at you example, if you translate that literally into Japanese, for those who don't know Japanese, essentially you get the way that you pronounce such a thing without even just the logistics of putting subtitles on a screen, that can be quite a long sentence, unless you use very short and sometimes more informal phrasing, if I were to say. Part of it is that I am failing to think of Japanese at the moment because I'm trying to also not die, but for those who don't know Japanese, and for those who do, please correct me when I'm wrong, there are some things to worry about when you're translating something literally. But even with that as the case, and you can let's not talk about band-aid fixes for now. When you translate something literally, again, I feel like some of it at least. But I feel more of it is about relying on non-native viewers to want to learn or learn the kind of the nuance in meaning, at least in the case of English. Now, from Japanese to English, I'm a lot less supportive, if that makes any sense. Now, that sounds contradictory, but I swear it makes sense. Where what's the way to say that? How can I say it in a way that conveys what I'm trying to say here? So, when you translate something from Japanese to English, I feel in that case you want to try to carry the energy, and not even the meaning, like the energy of what's being said, more than the literal, if that makes any sense. I guess one of the top of the brain examples is, you know, when in Japan when you eat, you say "Goshou sama desu," or when you welcome someone home, you say you know, "Okaeri" or something like that. Oh my goodness, my Japanese is failing me. But you say things like that, and trying to translate that into English, you know, usually people do something along the lines of, by the way, I have frostbite, by the way, something along the lines of "I'm home" or something like that. But there does carry, and something like that isn't as deep, and it's not really the greatest example. But still, I think there's something to be said about, you know, going, because otherwise everyone would usually agree on a certain phrase to say, and some circles of translation here and there do agree on a general phrasing, but for the most part, like, having one translation of "Okaeri" to Japanese to English, you don't see the same exact phrase being used in every one. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's not the best example, but hey, also, can I not die here, by the way? I could brace. No, I can't brace. One strength, I can't brace. Gosh dang it. Oh, we were on Knight Errant, because I had the thing, but it's fine. Kind of. But can I do anything more? Do I just go all out? I'm just gonna go all out and hope. If we had all these kicks, we're good. Thankfully we did. That was near 50-50, a little better than 50-50. Yeah, I did not use the best examples. I'm rambling. Hey, oh my goodness. Immediate death because one strength. Not that this rolled any fairer, but... well, now you will do one more run. Gosh dang it, me. But yeah, you know, translating the literal or trying to carry, again, what I call the energy. There's a better phrase for it, but I'm failing because my mind is failing me. No, I want to do Ayaka again. Yeah, there's there are a lot of things for and against. In my opinion, if I were to try to come up with a blanket solution, it's not the best, even then, in my opinion. But a blanket solution would be to try and support the translation, whether from Japanese to English or English to Japanese, with, you know, side notes, which is what a lot of, at least from what I know, fan translations like to do. Because, you know, trying to just put it in one thing, and this is usually the case, obviously, with things like light novels and manga, but when you're doing anime, it's possible with anime, and to some extent, if you have a movie, you can try, but then also, then you're relying on the viewer's ability to... You're relying on the viewer's ability to read in light speed, because sometimes, you know... And even then, for very... What's the idioms, I guess? Idioms or phrases, both in Japanese and English, translating them the other side, as I see Takushi-san, second knowledge, light, and maybe a strength check, is that, you know, sometimes it takes more than a few lines to explain something, and if you try to simplify it, things can be lost in the meanwhile. But I think, in my opinion, I feel most of the time something like that would work, but again, there are still some cons to it. But I think it's the better of other solutions, whether you're translating something literally, and then you lose a lot of the meaning, or you're trying to translate the energy of something, and then you just end up, you know, sitting there and people kind of might get lost, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to think of when that would be the case. I don't even remember some of the examples that happened when I was... at least in my translation class, but when I was seriously trying to translate things from Japanese to English or English to Japanese, there are definitely moments where... most of the time, I think almost always, I never went for a literal translation, but like kind of in the minute detail of things, like for day-to-day interactions that don't have any, you know, idioms, phrases, or anything that don't have any... what am I trying to say? For example, slang, I guess. When there's slang involved, you don't usually want to go literal with that, but if you're saying something like, "Oh, I'm eating right now," then obviously there's no nuance there. There's no detailed to the translation. The person is saying they're eating or they're hungry. Now that being said, when someone goes "hara hetta" or something like that, then you kind of, you can kind of go literal with that. I forgot if that's I'm full or I think it's I'm full, but you can translate that as just "I'm full," but there's also kind of the intonation. At least in Japanese, here's one more of many details, but the intonation of how you say something in Japanese can change the meaning of what it feels like. Whereas in English, when you're going from English to Japanese, we have like words that have like 8 different meanings depending on the context being used, or they just carry different meanings, which I feel is one of the most difficult parts of translation from English to Japanese, or at least trying to explain it to someone who doesn't know English, basically, because that can apply for any no matter what language you speak, as long as it's not English. But from Japanese to English, there are a lot of, I guess if we're to simplify it, I don't want to simplify it, but there are a lot of cultural definitions and meanings that go along with certain Japanese phrases, or the intonation of how you say certain things, and trying to translate that to English, there's not a one-to-one translation, I guess is another way to kind of paraphrase the literal translation. Thank goodness we have the Force Note. Thank old God, because I don't want to just say God, because that robots, but anywho. I hope I've at least, if nothing else, portrayed, that's kind of educated speak, helped in trying to explain kind of the difficulties of translation. That being said, doesn't matter how much experience you have in translation, when you see something, especially if you know both languages and the translation of one to another, when you see something kind of happen and a translation does not seem as it should, then yes, you will cringe. I think a common sense will win out, but at the same time, understanding the nuance will help in understanding why certain things may happen. If they're not for, even if you're assuming that it's not for in the how should I say, good faith of translation, because for all as we know, there may be political or social reasons why. Now, this is all of my opinion, by the way, so hopefully robots don't hurt me too much, but I mean, if we're talking about things that at least I have some self-experience in, I'm not talking out of nowhere, but I am less informed than someone who is even just spent a little bit of time in it, in my opinion. But if this helped you think about those matters, then hey, because boy, I basically, yes, again, in terms of the thing that I saw, ooh, we want to brace here. Can we even brace? I think we can kick still, yeah, we can. In terms of this thing that I saw that was translated, the title was translated from Japanese to English, I don't agree. That's the short version of it. Now, might I be able to understand it? I don't even know if I could, but hey. Yeah, we do want to brace kick again. Hopefully I hit both of these 80%. And if you have any questions or whatnot, feel free to let me know. But at the same time, I know I've not been the most helpful when people come to me with questions about Japanese. I can try to direct you in the right direction, but other than that, pain. Because again, it's been a while. Part of it is that I admit, even though it's not a real excuse for me anyway, in terms of like what I expect out of myself, my own self-expectation, my expectations for myself are set quite high, but I think for good reason. Also, this is a metamorphosis, isn't it? I'm just gonna rest now to be safe. But I should also pop the Inspire. I should have popped this earlier, but maybe we don't get Blood Mania. Actually, I'm gonna pop into the History Club really quickly. Nope, we didn't get it. I forgot what I was gonna say. Gosh dang it. We do need a rest though, because otherwise I think we die. I would like to pass a check and level up, but if we don't get to do that, this is a knowledge check. We get experience, and I think we grind another location if we're forced into the seaside. Yeah, we're gonna keep visiting the mansion. Now, if we run into the Rumu Ghost, we're not gonna fight. But if we run into anything else, we can kind of fight. I'd have to take a risk. I'm gonna have to, though, because there are no better options aside from just running away. But when the game doesn't want to give me a kick, I have to brace again and hope for the best. Oh my goodness. Anywho, oh, I was talking about like how helpful I am in you know, when people come to me with questions about Japanese or like, hey, what's this word mean, Jordan? And I'm like, there's this, and this, but I'll admit most of the time it's not from my head. It is from basically my own self-research, which I think is a good thing. But we have to just go for it here. Do I get out, by the way? Anywho. Oh wow, 80%, by the way. We still have to go for it. Maybe this just wasn't... Aside from, you know, me already not being focused is bad enough, but RNG on top of that, boy. This should be real, right? This is all real? Because this is... 7 damage per kick? So, yeah. But anywho. Blood Mania, please! Nope. I'm actually just going to reroll here, because it's kind of important. And then we're going to tree for stamina. And for curses, but mainly for stamina. Oh, Blood Frenzy, that's why we're taking so much damage. But hopefully we get to one shot. We're going to leave these flashbacks for the moment, because I think at the end of the mystery, before starting the next one, I get to do a thing. But we'll see. So anywho, the first question is, do I one-shot this guy? Otherwise, we do get to brace, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we get to brace, and I think this is guaranteed, because the next turn I just brace kick, prep kick. Which is pretty cool, but boy, do I... 62% Doom on my... Going into my second mystery is not great. Also, Azal on top of that, because... was that the item rule? I wasn't paying attention at all. Gosh dang it, me. Oh no, Injury and Curses, which... Curses, most of them I couldn't do anything about, so... yeah, this is actually the negative Ayaka run. If I can speak correctly. Because we want a lot of curses, but if we have a lot of curses, Azal slaps us in the face. Which isn't great, but we can do our best. Funny enough, the run isn't over yet. In fact, we can still survive. But we need one, we need Doom Effigy immediately, and two, we need some good Monument into some good luck during events. While, yes, the Eldritch Possession perk would help, Doom Effigy is still more important because Doom is the direct cause of our demise here. 5 claps, by the way, so no Timeline 8 boss battle, but shrug. But yeah, to close off the thought, or to close off what I was talking about this video, you know, not having anyone to practice Japanese with isn't a real excuse, that's what I was saying earlier. But at the same time, I do expect myself to, like, if I really wanted to learn, I would find my own ways to learn, you know, and stay up to date on my Japanese. I would definitely, I'll try to, you know, defend myself with this. I would definitely be more inclined if I had taken myself further. I think the only thing that stopped me from getting a degree in Japanese was really just going into Japan. Shrug. But, hey. There are some reasons why I couldn't. I think that's all I can really say on the matter. But otherwise, you know, it's still enough to kind of be comfortable. If I have the time to sit for myself, I can say, you know, I can sit around and, you know, not translate, but understand Japanese here and there. If you give me the time to kind of work things out. Now, if you want a live in translation of things, 5 claps. Oh, if you want a live translation when something's going on, that's gonna be less likely. But hey, so Knight Errant on top of Azal. Which Azal rule was that? Oh, experience. So I literally could do nothing about that. What do you want from me? I can't even reroll now. We just have to hope we survive. As great as it would be to take Eldritch Possession, no, that's not going to happen. So I think we just die here, because no matter what, we have too many curses anyway. We're guaranteed to die, but we'll go as far as we can. Now we have the item inventory rule, but not really much I can do there. That being said, I'm not going to defend myself on that. I would have probably left like 2 or 3 items in my inventory and then just taken the Doom hit. But even without that, the curse rule for Ayaka is pretty bad here. Especially, you know, funny enough, on one of the few runs where I'm actually the most focused, they should be able to defeat them all if I hit at least a lot of these. But 80% doesn't mean anything to me in this game, so, or most games. I'm shrugging once more in real life. At this point, you might be wondering, well, Jordan, why don't you use a webcam? Because I don't have a good webcam, and the one webcam I did have no longer functions as it should, so... Anywho. We don't need the Curious Package because we can probably just one-shot the boss here. The problem is, although we're great in encounters, Azal just slaps us with all this doom. So yeah, without further ado, if you have anything to say to me, you know what to do. If you want to support me at any length, you know what to do. And I guess I'll see you later.